Good afternoon, all. Thank you for joining us at the Chelsea Sharks media session with Chelsea Sharks captain Siya Kolisi. I'm now going to open the floor for questions. There's two participants with their hands raised. Mike and Marnus, you can go ahead.
Hello, Siya. Hello, everybody. Siya, just to start off with, just your personal impressions of maybe what went wrong in that game last week. Did you guys feel a lot of rustiness, the returning Springboks?
Good, yeah. As a unit, obviously, you can see we have been playing together as a unit, and I thought as a team we went good. A couple of players have had individual good moments, but as a team we just didn't do well. Yeah, we weren't happy at all this time. That was absolute nonsense that we put out there, and we're really disappointed in ourselves. And it's one of those games that you just make peace with it. It's just nothing went our way, and we didn't work hard enough or to take the opportunities we created there. And we said before we left, we gotta leave it there and come here with a different mindset in a different competition with a different attitude.
Hi, it's Marnus here. Siya. Is that maybe after that match, I would say actually more action motivation for you and the rest of the guys to hammer now Munster on Saturday, Siya?
No, of course. We disappointed ourselves. You know, each individual has to be better. We disappointed the team together as a unit to be better. And obviously our supporters will come in daily. We want to make sure that we put a much better performance this week against a strong Munster who've done more in this competition. And so, yeah, it's definitely motivated to do, because also it's playoff. You lose, you out, you're done for so we want to make sure that we put in a proper chances. Got some chance to go to a quarterfinal.
Next question. Michael, go ahead.
How's it, Siya? I'll let you down that water there quickly. What do you make of Munster? You're going to be playing them twice in a few weeks, but obviously this one's a knockout game, like you just mentioned. But what do you make of them? I mean, obviously we all know how strong the Irish teams are, but you guys, you've had a week now to digest last week's game and obviously work on it. What's your expectations for the weekend?
No, the amazing side, the great side, they attack very well. They hold on to the ball. I think longer than most teams in the competition. They're very good on the breakdown, attacking and defense. But one of the quickest ruck speed in the competition. And they've got a strong pack who's more in the world. We've got a lot of variety. So there's so much that we need to look out for this weekend. We just need to be at our best in everything that we do. And the biggest thing is for us is to make sure we get ourselves up for the game and make sure that we are aware, because they can do anything especially in set piece. They've always got trick plays, and yeah, they're a great team. They play really well together as a group because they know what they're about.
Cool, thank you.
Next question, please.
I see it. It's Simon Lewis from the Irish Examiner. How are you? I'm just wondering what have been your reference points for reviewing Munster and assessing how strong or weak they can be? Which games have you looked at, and how much last Saturday's game that they lost has played into that?
That's for us to know, and I think I don't want to reveal too much, but I think on my previous question I answered like where I think they're very strong. They're an all-rounded team who hold on the ball for a very long time, very patient and disciplined in what they do. And I think, honestly, I can't look at last week's game because we also lost, so that doesn't define who they are. This is a different competition, the playoff game, and you know what happens in a player's goal. Because if I'm going to look at that game, then they're going to look at our previous game too, and obviously have a little bit of hope in that.
Sure. What can Munster expect coming to Kings Park, and in terms of atmosphere, in terms of the support you get and the fight you'll bring?
Well, I'm not going to tell them what they're going to get from us, but I think it will be a great atmosphere. There'll be a lot of people will come out here. We have a Shark Fest happening. There's a lot of activities, so a lot of families come out. And, my son is actually bringing, I think, 60 of his friends and parents who are coming to the game because there's concert. And that's what I love about the European Cup. It's just a different vibe to anything else. And I think they'll get to experience that, and obviously the heat of Durban, hopefully, at 1:30.
Sure. What have you made of the Champions Cup so far? Obviously, it's your first season in it. You had a big win in Bordeaux. How has that shaped the way you think you can approach this tournament?
I think it's been good. It's really different. I think the history of it is so huge, and I understand there might be one or two people who's just weird because it's called the European Cup and you've got a South African team in it, but we really don't care about that. We want to come in and show who we are and bring who we are as the South African team, and I really believe we can bring value and a different way of playing the game, and we've really enjoyed it as a group, and we're fortunate to have a couple of like a coach who's been part of the European Cup and who's told us how big it is, how in Europe it's such a huge thing that the guys totally have total strips. So they playing jerseys are completely different. The whole kid to get a different mindset. The music itself in it is really special for us. What we would normally look at it as that is probably the Champions League in soccer. So it's really an amazing tournament. We're so grateful to be part of it.
Great, thanks, Sia.
Thank you, Mike. You can go ahead.
Sia, your old teammate from Japan 2019, Mr. Snymans, is going to be playing, I read. I'm sure you must be pleased that he's back on the park. And you probably would be happy if he played well, but not too well. Just your thoughts on coming up against Mr. Snymans.
Yeah, it's never nice to see a player go through an injury period, especially a long one like he has, and for him to stay in the fight, because a lot of people can give up and just not want to do it anymore, and he stayed in it, and it shows as well how special of a team Munster or as a club or the union to stick with him and keep on looking after him. And that's the values that you want in a club that's going to be with you during the toughest of time, and him staying there and fighting through it. And for us, inspiration for a player to keep on going and working hard until he got to that moment. And I don't care who he plays for. It doesn't matter who he is, as long as a player does that, I really get inspired by that. And I've been rooting for him wherever he goes. Obviously, I want him to be well and do well, because especially he's a very good friend of mine. I really enjoy playing with him. And yeah, it's not always nice to play against him, but I don't want him to play too well. But I'm glad that he's on the pitch and is playing. And I hope that it inspires a lot of guys who get injuries to know that it is possible to get them up. And the backing of your club, it's huge that Munster could back him like that. So I'm really happy for him and the club to have him back. And obviously the country, South Africa, will also obviously be happy to have him back too.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you, Cian, followed by Kolisi. And then Alex.
Hi, Sia. How are things? It's Cian from the Irish Independent. How are you keeping?
So how are you?
Good, thank you. Just wondering, what have you made of working with Noel McNamara there? Obviously, he's from Munster. What's he been like to work with?
It's good. It's really good. I really enjoyed it working with him. I think the Irish generally play a different style of rugby to us. So he's trying to make us see and play a different way of rugby. Getting the forwards to get to pass the ball. Where we are generally a team that will one pass and then take it up. So he's tried to bring variety in our group, and he's also got to learn who we are. And he's also an amazing human being. I think we meet almost every morning for a coffee. Myself and him, I've gotten very close to him, so it's going to be tough to not work with him last year. He's a very good man and a great coach as well.
Is he similar to Felix Jones?
Yeah, they're similar but different at the same time. But yeah, they do similar things, but it's obviously two different levels. But it's always good to see the way that other countries see rugby. You know, it's sometimes different to us, and we can always learn and be better at a few things. And we are good at things that maybe they're not good at. You know, and they don't try and take that away. They just try to add a little bit more skill in whatever way.
Just a final one for me. What did you make of Ireland's Grand Slam success?
It's special. It's honestly special, and they've played really well. I mean, you know, for a couple of years in a row now, they've been playing really well. They're a tough team, they're an amazing team, and you can see they tight group. And yeah, I'm honestly, I know some of the guys in the group, and I'm really happy for them, you know. And I think always, like, when the other team does well, you know, you mustn't feel bad for them. You must encourage you as opposition to make you want to be better and play in that kind of level. So yeah, they really deserved it. They played the whole Six Nations, and they faced a couple of challenges that they had to fix on the day, getting a number like 7, throwing the line out, you know, and they didn't lose a step in that, you know. So yeah, they really did well. So it's gonna, yeah, they deserve being a number 1, so it's gonna be everybody chasing them going forward.
Thanks, Ian.
Kolisi?
Thank you. Sia, this is Kolisi at Newsroom Africa. Just wanted 2 follow-up questions from me. I'll ask one and then I'll ask one a bit later. I wanted to go back a bit to chat about the competition when you were speaking to Simon about playing in the European competition. Are you able to draw comparison between that and Super Rugby when South African teams were still playing the Super Rugby? Do you see any difference, and how do you think this will help the Springbok in the long run, considering that it's a World Cup year?
It's very different. I mean, the travel is the one big simple thing that I can tell you. It's much closer, and the time zone is the same, you know, it's all a little bit more similar. Also, for the people supporting us from South Africa, it's a little bit easier, but the style of rugby is completely different. You know, when you play in Europe, it's sometimes wet and cold, so you have to adjust to the weather there, or whatever you need to. So, and they'll hold more on kicking game. You have to work on more aspects of your game there. Where I think when we played Super Rugby, it was just mostly attack and defense. We had kicking game breakdown obviously in all the games, but I just thought the kicking game is a little bit more important in this one. But obviously you're attacking, but it's also great because you have so many different teams who play differently. Some teams like to attack more. Some teams are very good defensively. Some are very quick in game, and some have all the whole shape of game. And I think we're getting to play against those different teams in every single week, and I think it's helping. It will definitely help in the long run, and especially in a World Cup year that's in Europe. We get to go play in Europe more often, and it will help us a lot, hopefully, going forward.
Yeah, so the second question I wanted to ask you as a follow-up, or also to what Sian was saying about the Irish team. I don't know if you saw on the news yesterday that Johnny Sexton might miss the rest of this season. From when you look at how important it's been for Ireland and also Leinster, how big do you think this injury or him sitting out the rest of this season would impact his Leinster number 1 as well as Ireland going into the World Cup?
I think obviously he's a big one. He's been immense this year. He's been really amazing. He's been great leader for the Irish team, for Leinster as well. And yeah, one thing I like about him, he just shows that age means nothing. The way that he's played this year, I love that when people defy all the odds. People who do, maybe somebody didn't back him, they said he's too old, and the way he's playing the moment, it makes a huge difference when he's not in that Irish side. But I know for a fact that the guys that are playing behind him, they'll also take the opportunities. And it's an opportunity to see you never know what might happen in the World Cup, and it's a great opportunity for the coaches to look at other players that can see who's having the authority to take that position. Maybe they already have a second choice and looking at the third and the first choice and the fourth choice going forward. But it's unlucky, and hopefully he can get back soon. But and it's an opportunity for someone else for now. And obviously they'll be very conservative, making sure that it's ready for the World Cup or the national team.
Thank you. Alex, followed by Johnny.
See you, it's Alex from the Mirror in London. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, sir.
Can I ask you, please, 163 days out from the World Cup, what is the health of the Springboks? How confident are you? And if you compare the position now from where you were 4 years ago, could you give me some sort of sense of where you feel you are?
We just had a couple of camps, and the great things about the camp, the coaches told us what I love about the alignment camps is knowing where we are now. Obviously, they watch the progress of what we do and where we need to be, and we measure ourselves against ourselves and also against the best in the world. And I think we still, got a lot to do as a team. But obviously, the most important thing right now is for us as players to work ourselves into getting into that team, because nobody's guaranteed a place in the Springbok team, and we don't know what that side is going to look like. So what's important now is, like, for me not to play like I played last week, for me to be better this weekend and show that I really want to get in that team. And that's why it's so important for when you play in our unions, we have to look apart and play apart, because that's our ultimate goal.
Do you feel that you're ahead of, as a group, of where you were in 2019 at this point?
I think so, yeah. With our country staff now, they always helpful in letting you know where you are and letting you know if you're falling behind or you're where they want you to go. And it's easy, they're available at all times with the feedback. They always like, okay, this is not good enough, or this is good enough. How can you improve this? Even though you are doing everything you can for your club, you can still reach out and say, is this good enough for you? Because they look at you as international level, not as in club level.
When you look at the group that you're drawn in the World Cup, Ireland, the Grand Slam champion, Scotland, who beat England, and others, do you think, crikey, this is a heck of a challenge for us?
Well, yeah, it's always going to be, at the end of the day, you have to play the best to win the World Cup. It doesn't matter what you do. So I think it's a positive, if you can come out of the group, and also in the quarterfinals as well. At the end of the day, you're going to have to play those teams. It doesn't matter where you play them, and you have to beat them. So it is what it is, and it's all about how you look at it. And I think it's an exciting challenge, and it's proper. I think it can help. But yeah, how we're looking at it is, we feel, just get through your group, and then doesn't matter who you meet, because it doesn't matter where you end up as long as you make it through the groups, because whoever makes it through France or New Zealand, it's going to be a hard game regardless.
Final question from me. Do you believe that the Champions Cup involvement is improving the Springbok players and will have an effect on the national team come the autumn, the fact that you've been exposed to this level of club provincial competition?
Well, I think it's good. Yeah, it's good. Super Rugby wasn't bad at all. It was just different. It's different. I'm not saying Super Rugby or this one is better than the other. You just get tested in different kinds. It's a different way of playing. If you watch a Super Rugby game now and then you watch a URC game, it's two different competition, because also look where we play. We play up in Europe. Sometimes it's wet, most of the time it's wet. So, and we focus a whole lot more on kicking game this side. And then when you play in South Africa, a lot of teams love to run the ball because it's dry, and you can also, you can't say the other one is better than the other. It's just two different competitions, but they both add value towards the team. I think playing in the Champions Cup is obviously helping us in a certain way. Especially it's important because the World Cup is in Europe. I think it's we won't get shocked by the time we go and play there. We would have been used to the conditions.
Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Johnny.
Hello, Sia. How are you?
How are you, sir?
Good, thank you. So you touched on it earlier. Just how important is it for a South African club side to do well in this European competition, just for the good of South Africa rugby? Is there a rivalry there between South Africa and Europe that's a healthy rivalry and makes this a bigger competition?
Yeah, I think for us, any competition we want to do well and dominate. Doesn't matter who we play. It's important to see when obviously to play against the best in the world, the top teams, and that's all it is. We want to make sure us as players to play well so that we can, so our unions can do well, and also for the players to do well so that we can have more guys making the national team. So yeah, we want to do well in every position we play in. We don't play just to compete. We want to make sure we win one of the teams.
Just one more from me, Sia. Again, it was mentioned earlier. Do you think the Sharks are playing their best at the moment? Or I took from an earlier answer that maybe you weren't at your best just recently, or where do you think you are?
Well, they say we're as good as our last game, so we weren't good in our last game. We want to rectify it this weekend, but I think before the break, we played a bit better. You know, we played really well. But I think we'll be good again. We're not going to let this game define us. All that matters what happens on Sunday. It's a playoff game. All the pool games don't matter. Everything we've done before, all that matters is at 1:30 on Saturday.
Cheers, Sia. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Johnny. Kaliso, you've got, of course, a soundbite that you're looking for. You can go ahead, and thereafter, I'm going to permit 2 more questions.
All right, cool. See, I just wanted to ask for what are you guys expecting? Obviously, in Xhosa, what are you guys expecting from this game on Saturday?
Kulindela into ezininzi, yeah, ayadlala la madoda ke Munster. Ayakwazi ukukhaba ibhola, but into abayithanda kakhulu bayabamba ibhola esandleni. Banamaqhinga amaninzi xa zi-plays kilana wathi bayamola kanye baphume kwimola, bayenze ngathi imola baphinde baphume phaa, and bayayiba ibhola xa satheka thina bawaphuta futhi breakdown, and izobaleka into thina senzile yonke into ebaleni. And into ebalulekileyo kuzawubonaka amadoda ame ngeenyawo zombini alwe kule weekend, because ukuba benza ntoni funeke sibe ready thina siteam sokwazi if sifuna uphumelela funeke singagive up, ibe ngabo abayekayo before thina.
Thank you. Sia actually has to go. He has treatment shortly, so I'm going to permit 1 more question. Are there any further questions? Okay. If there's no questions, thank you, Sia, for your time. Thank you, media.